What is dyslexia? Dyslexia is a neurological difference in the brain that can make learning more difficult. Reading, writing, and spelling are three common dyslexic struggles. However, dyslexia impacts many areas. Writing, difficulty getting ideas on paper, organizational problems, can't find the right word. Listening, problems note-taking, find background noise distracting. Spelling, similar sounds cause confusion, difficulty hearing sounds, can't remember what words look like. Reading, needing to reread, moving or overlapping text, losing place in text. Motor control, coordination problems, handwriting difficulties, difficulty copying. Memory, dates, sequences, phone numbers, alphabet, times tables. Spatial temporal, difficulties with telling the time. Left-right confusion, gets lost easily. Dyslexia warning signs. In preschool, delayed speech, mixing up the sounds and syllables in long words, chronic ear infections, stuttering, constant confusion of left versus right, late establishing a dominant hand, difficulty learning to tie shoes, trouble memorizing their address, phone number, or the alphabet, can't create words that rhyme, a close relative with dyslexia. Dysgraphia, slow, non-automatic handwriting that is difficult to read, letter or number reversals continuing past the end of first grade, extreme difficulty learning cursive, slow, choppy, inaccurate reading, guesses based on shape or context, skips or misreads prepositions, ignores suffixes, can't sound out unknown words, terrible spelling. Often can't remember sight words or homonyms, difficulty telling time with a clock with hands, trouble with math, memorizing multiplication tables, memorizing a sequence of steps, and directionality. When speaking, difficulty finding the correct word, lots of whatchamacallits and thingies, common sayings come out slightly twisted. Extremely messy bedroom, backpack, and desk. Dreads going to school, complaints of stomach aches or headaches, may have nightmares about school. In high school, all the above symptoms plus limited vocabulary, extremely poor written expression, large discrepancy between verbal skills and written compositions, unable to master a foreign language, difficulty reading printed music, poor grades in many classes, may drop out of high school. In adults, education history similar to above, plus slow reader, may have to read a page 2 or 3 times to understand it, terrible speller, difficulty putting thoughts onto paper, dreads writing memos or letters, still has difficulty with right versus left, often gets lost even in a familiar city, sometimes confuses B and D, especially when tired or sick. Key facts about dyslexia. 80% of the population believes that dyslexia is associated with low intelligence. This is not true. Dyslexia occurs in people of all intellectual levels. Dyslexia runs in families. Parents with dyslexia are more likely to have children with dyslexia. Dyslexia is the most common learning disability and affects 15 to 20% of the U.S. population. Research has proven that students with dyslexia can learn to read when instruction is explicit and systematic, multisensory, consistent and frequent, phonics-based, individualized, emotionally reinforcing. The following video by Dr. Kelly Sandman Hurley from the Dyslexia Institute explains more.
Take a moment to read the following. How was that? Frustrating? Slow? What were those sentences about? They're actually a simulation of the experience of dyslexia, designed to make you decode each word. Those with dyslexia experience that laborious pace every time they read. When most people think of dyslexia, they think of seeing letters and words backwards, like seeing B as D and vice versa, or they might think people with dyslexia see saw as was. The truth is, people with dyslexia see things the same way as everyone else. Dyslexia is caused by a phonological processing problem, meaning people affected by it have trouble not with seeing language, but with manipulating it. For example, if you heard the word cat and then someone asked you, remove the C, what word would you have left? At. This can be difficult for those with dyslexia. Given a word in isolation like fantastic, students with dyslexia need to break the word into parts to read it. Fan-tas-tic. Time spent decoding makes it hard to keep up with peers and gain sufficient comprehension. Spelling words phonetically like S-T-I-K for stick and F-R-E-N-S for friends is also common. These difficulties are more widespread and varied than commonly imagined. Dyslexia affects up to 1 in 5 people. It occurs on a continuum. One person might have mild dyslexia, while the next person has a profound case of it. Dyslexia also runs in families. It's common to see one family member who has trouble spelling, while another family member has severe difficulty decoding even one-syllable words like catch. The continuum and distribution of dyslexia suggest a broader principle to bear in mind as we look at how the brains of those with dyslexia process language. Neurodiversity is the idea that because all our brains show differences in structure and function, we shouldn't be so quick to label every deviation from the norm as a pathological disorder, or dismiss people living with these variations as defective. People with neurobiological variations like dyslexia, including such creative and inventive individuals as Picasso, Muhammad Ali, Whoopi Goldberg, Steven Spielberg, and Cher, clearly have every capacity to be brilliant and successful in life. So here's the special way the brains of those with dyslexia work. The brain is divided into 2 hemispheres. The left hemisphere is generally in charge of language and ultimately reading, while the right typically handles spatial activities. fMRI studies have found that the brains of those with dyslexia rely more on the right hemisphere and frontal lobe than the brains of those without it. This means when they read a word, it takes a longer trip through their brain and can get delayed in the frontal lobe. Because of this neurobiological glitch, they read with more difficulty. But those with dyslexia can physically change their brain and improve their reading. With an intensive multisensory intervention that breaks the language down and teaches the reader to decode based on syllable types and spelling rules, the brains of those with dyslexia begin using the left hemisphere more efficiently while reading, and their reading improves. The intervention works because it locates dyslexia appropriately, as a functional variation in the brain, which naturally shows all sorts of variations from one person to another. Neurodiversity emphasizes this spectrum of brain function in all humans, and suggests that to better understand the perspectives of those around us, we should try to not only see the world through their eyes, but understand it through their brains.
As you've just heard, dyslexia is not uncommon, affecting up to 20% of our population on a continuum, mild to severe. Most dyslexic have average to above average intelligence. Most learn coping skills to survive in the classroom, so their struggles may not be noted. Most dyslexics are never found to have a disability. Their struggles will continue to escalate in middle and high school. The dyslexic student may appear to be lazy and not trying hard enough. That is not the case. Dyslexic students need extra time to complete assignments. Homework can take them much longer to complete, resulting in nightly homework battles. Does having dyslexia mean I'm stupid? Their self-esteem is crushed and they believe they are dumb. Many quit school, self-harm, and turn to drugs and alcohol to help ease the pain. More than half of our prison population is dyslexic, but dyslexics who learn to read are typically highly productive citizens. Third grade reading proficiency scores are used to predict the number of new beds that will be needed in prisons in 10 years. University System of Ohio. Over 70% of inmates in America's prisons read at a fourth grade level. Difficulty spelling is one of the red flags for dyslexia. A child may receive A's on their spelling test. However, a day, maybe a week after, they can't remember how to spell those same spelling words. Typically, when most people first find out their child or student has dyslexia, the focus is primarily on what they cannot do, and an instructional plan is created to bridge the gap. Unfortunately, a piece of the instructional plan is missing: acknowledging the child's strengths, identifying these strengths, and then creating a plan around both areas is essential to building an IEP or instructional plan. Did you know Rockingham County Public Schools has a dyslexia advisor? Her name is Stephanie Nicely. Her email is snicely@rockingham.k12.va.us. If you would like more information, you can contact us at Dyslexic at Work, Living Outside the Box. Our website is dyslexicatwork.com, and our email is dyslexicatwork@gmail.com.